All right, so now we've reached the end of my narrative, which is going to be that reflection, right? The third piece. We have incident response and reflection. And we know that in a reflection, we're going to talk about like the resolution of the story, which is like the end of the story. And also we're going to talk about the lesson, right? So go ahead and read what I got, and then I'll show you guys how I have those two things. Since that day, I have ridden much bigger roller coasters. I have been cliff jumping many times. Yet, I still consider myself to have a fear of heights. I still feel woozy and nervous each time. But I remember this day, and it helps me to be brave. It reminds me that I can have a lot of fun if I'm willing to take a risk even when I feel scared. I think everyone can learn from that feeling. Trying new things is often scary, and sometimes that fear is totally reasonable. However, if you always let fear drive your life, then you'll miss out on a lot of new and exciting experiences. Fear can make your life really boring if you let it. And that's why it's so important to take risks on things that are important to you. You never know. You could end up having a lot of fun. So from my reflection, you can see I talked about like the end of my story. In the end, I still have a fear of heights. Like I'm not cured, but I also know that I can have a lot of fun if I do things like roller coasters. Like I enjoy those things despite my fear of heights. So I know sometimes I have to let go of that fear. And then for my lesson that I think everyone could kind of get something out of my story, this is supposed to be like a universal lesson. A lot of people could like use this in their life, is that, it's always scary to try new things. And that's essentially what I was doing. I was trying to ride like a really tall roller coaster. I'd never done that before. And so that was part of why I was so scared. But because I did it, I ended up having a lot of fun. And I feel like that's a lesson people could take into their lives, is we should take risks sometimes, right? Because you can miss out on a lot of stuff if you don't. So that's my reflection. And then I look down here, we have let's see, put too many spaces here. We have the color coding, light blue for incident, yellow for response, and light orange for reflection. Don't worry about any of these other ones. I went through and I just highlighted those to make sure I had everything. And you can see I have my incident, which is the longest part of the story. I highlighted it blue. We have the response. All right, that includes like the climax and the following actions and how I thought, felt, and my actions immediately after the incident. So I put that yellow. And then we have the reflection, which I made red. And that was like me talking about my lesson. So I have all three of my parts, and I know that I'm ready for like the next things where we're going to be editing and revising and making it even better. As you work on this, feel free to refer back to my example or the student example that we looked at during live session 2 last week, because like those examples can only serve to guide you, right? And maybe answer some of the questions that you might have. All right. And good luck.